So before we proceed with the timing chain, I'm going to start removing the caps of the main bearings and the conrod bearings, but before that we're going to remove these caps because we are going to remove the whole crankshaft. And actually we have two new needle bearings for the balance shafts here. They are 4 in total. I forget where, here the other two. And yeah, we have bought new caps because they have some O-rings, and yeah, a lot of parts here for this engine. Okay, this is one of the caps which we're going to replace. Okay, so we're going to need to remove the AC compressor bracket here because it's on our way. Without removing it, we are not going to have enough place to remove this cap. So give us a second and we're going to continue. Okay, so we have made some access to the cap, and this is what you're going to need to remove to be able to remove this. The AC compressor, the alternator, the tensioner for the serpentine belts, and finally this flange which is holding all of them. And now we have enough access. To the other cap, which I'm going to try to remove. Like on the other side, they're pretty stuck because they haven't been removed ever. So yeah, they're hot with some O-ring, and actually on the back there is some teeth or something like that. And pretty much this uncovers the both balance shafts here and here, for which now I'm going to show you the special tool that I'm going to use later on to aim them in the crankshaft. Okay, we have removed the water pump, so to be able to install the tool which is going to hold the balance shafts in place. So actually after that we're going to use the same tool for installing them in place, because they should be located in certain way. If you rotate them and just install them as you want, you're going to have some vibrations after that in the engine. So you need to install them in special order. So right now the crankshaft is located at top dead center, and if you look here how they are oriented, the upper part here is facing downwards to the open side. And now I'm going to use this tool, which is, this is how it looks like, to lock them in place. So the tool goes here. You can see through the open that there is a place that they are going to lock here and here, as we can see. That this is how you're going to know that they are installed correctly in their position, like that. And now we can install a bolt which there is a hole which you can use for holding the tool in place. So like that. For now I'm not going to tighten it up because for some reason my tool is a little bit bended. It's kind of hard to install the locking tool on the crankshaft, but I'm going to show you. So let me try to do it. Once again I have installed the timing chain cover and the flywheel once again. And once again the locking tool should go on the crankshaft, but because I told you my tool is a little bit bended, it's making me some hard time, but as you can see I am able to install it. So right now the crankshaft is at top dead center, the tool is installed on the balance shaft, which means that they are timed correctly. Yeah, we haven't removed them, but this is how we're going to reinstall them after that, just to show you what is the idea behind everything. Okay, so I'm going to start by removing this gear. On the front we have a nut. Okay, so after the removal of the gear, now I'm going to remove the both bolts for the both balance shafts. So for removal of the balance shafts, we're going to use once again the tool which is for timing, and the idea is that it's going to hold the balance shaft to not rotate. Right now the tool is locked on the both balance shafts, and the idea is to unlock this gear here from the balance shaft, and as you can see we have done already one of it. It's held with taper to the balance shaft, and I'm going to need to remove this from the balance shaft, because if you want to be able to remove the whole balance shaft from its place, because these holes are a little bit smaller for this gear to go out from here. So if we go on the front of the engine, actually on the back of the engine, we're going to see that we have threads on the both gears of the balance shafts, here and here. So these threads are for the gears which I showed you. Right now this gear is locked. I cannot rotate it like this one. As you can see, I can rotate this one, but I cannot rotate this one. So to be able to unlock this gear like this one, I'm going to use this special tool, which is self-made. Actually, I'm thinking that I can start producing these tools and sell it, because actually this tool, if you want to buy it from BMW, is around $120. So it's kind of expensive. I can make this for a third of this price or even lower. And I think to make it from stainless steel, but if I decide to do it, I'm going to post it in the description below. But let me show you how we're going to use it. So I'm going to thread it on this thread here, and this bolt is going to push out the balance shaft from the taper of the gear. So actually it's pretty tight, and I'm going to use the impact gun to do this. So let's give it a try. Okay, maybe a little bit more. Okay. And actually it should be free, but I think the tool is holding it, so give me a second. I'm going to undo the bolt on behind. Okay, it's going to require a little bit more. I'm going to try one more time. Okay, it's free, as we can see. I guess I don't have enough force to rotate it. Oh, okay, it's free. So let me undo the bolt. Okay, working the impact gun once again. Now I'm going to remove the tool from behind. Actually, let me rotate it over the engine. In theory, now I should be able to remove the balance shafts from their locations. So this is the bolt needle bearings which we're going to replace, and from time to time this goes bad. If you leave it to go bad for a long period of time, this bearing can eat up the bed which is lying in, and if this bed where the bearing is sitting gets bad, you're going to need to replace the whole cylinder block. That's why it's a good idea to replace these bearings. So this is the first one. Now I'm going to remove the other one. Okay, once again the bolt needle bearings which we're going to replace. So as you can see, this taper here, as we can see, it's a cone, and this is the gear. So it was like that, and the bolt is just pressing the taper from the both surfaces, and that's how you're going to be able to remove it. There is probably different way how you can do it, but this is the safest way you can do it in my opinion, and this is the original way to do it from BMW manuals. So if you want, you can do it with a boat like ours. So now let's replace the bolt bearings, the 4 bearings actually, and install back the balance shafts in place. So once again, the balance shaft, and the thing that you can do for this, for maintenance, is to replace these bolt bearings. So we have bought 2 original bearings from BMW. This is the part number. There are 4 in total, 2 on each balance shaft. So now we're going to replace these 2 ones. The part number for them is the same. They are not different, so you just need to open it up. So I'm just opening it up like that, Yeah, with the old one there is no a lot of risk, but with the new one you need to be kind of gentle when installing it. But first of all, let me remove the other one. So the both old bearings. I'm going to clean it. So there is small amount of signs of wear here, but nothing crazy as here. Yeah, probably this is where it's the worst, but not something crazy. So now I'm going to install the new ones as gentle as possible. Okay, like that. And the other one. Okay. So the only thing that's left is to use the assembly loop to loop them up good as possible and reinstall them. But before that, I want to install the crankshaft and then I'm going to install them back in place, because I want to have a little bit more room for installing the main bearings and work over the engine. So for now I'm going to leave them like that, but before reinstallation I'm going to put assembly loop on the needle bearings and we're going to reinstall them together with the gear, of course. So for now we're going to leave them like that. I'm just going to replace the both bearings on the other balance shaft, but it's pretty much the same procedure. Okay, so now we're going to continue with the installation of the balance shafts. As we saw, I have replaced the both needle bearings on this balance shaft and the other two on the other balance shaft. So I'm just going to put some assembly loop on the needle bearings just to be sure that they're going to be looped as good as possible before the installation. Okay, so now this is the gear for it and it should go like that. So this is on the intake side. As I told you, they are pretty much the same, but still we're going to keep the orientation as it was originally. So I'm just going to aim it. And before aiming it fully, I'm just going to place the gear in place. Okay, like that. So one of the camshafts with the balance shafts is installed in place. Now let's install the other. Okay, so this is the other balance shaft. Okay, this is the other one. We're going to install the two on behind, so to be placed on their position, and after that I'm going to install this connection gear, which is connecting the gear of the crankshaft to this balance shaft for the exhaust side. But first of all, I want to place the balance shafts in their place, the crankshaft in its place, and then we're going to tighten up the bolts on the front. So the timing tool for the balance shafts is installed, and as you can see on the top, the teeth on the tool is inside the balance shafts. And now actually we have checked, yeah, the crankshaft with the tool is right on top dead center. We have installed the timing chain cover and the flywheel, and we have timed the crankshaft in place. So now I'm going to tighten up the both front bolts to the cone of the gears. First of all, I'm going to just place the idle gear. Okay, that's that. Okay, I'm going to tighten up this nut to 70 Newton meters. So I'm going to hold from behind. 70 Newton meters is going to be a little bit hard. Okay, 70, actually it wasn't so hard. And now the Torx bolts, I'm going to torque them to 40 Newton meters and 90 degrees. And this is pushing the balance shaft and the cone of the gear. So now I'm going to apply 90 degrees. The other one. Okay, so 17 Newton meters, the nut for the idle gear, 40 Newton meters plus 90 degrees on the both balance shafts bolts. And now I'm just quickly going to put the timing chain cover and going to show you that the crankshaft is in position. As you can see here, and if you look on the back, as you can see, the teeth are still inside the balance shafts. So this means the crankshaft is correctly timed to the balance shafts and there should be no issues at all. So it's possible to do it without this tool. I have made my small marking just to see that the crankshaft is not moving while I'm torquing down the both balance shafts and the idle gear here, just to be sure that nothing is going to get out of their place and everything is going to be timed correctly. So something that I didn't show you in the first part of the video, the usage of this tool, which is in the kit of N47 and N57, as we can see right now. We have walked up the cone rod with the tool. As we can see, this can be rotated and walk the cone rod. And yeah, we have attached it here and here. And right now, the tool, which is locking the balance shafts, is installed. Yeah, we haven't put the bolt, but if my colleague uses the light, I'm going to show you that the tool is right in the balance shafts here and there. so the balance shafts are locked where they're supposed to be. I'm showing you this just to show you that you can do it either way. So now I'm going to remove the tool and we're going to rotate the flywheel, the crankshaft, until we are going to be able to lock the flywheel with the locking pin, which right now is here. And as you can see, the hole for the locking tool is here on 180 degrees for where it's supposed to be. And I'm going to show you that once again we're going to be able to lock up the balance shafts without this tool here. So you can do it either way. The tool is going to lock this part of the crankshaft, actually not the con rod. So my colleague is going to put it so to show you where it's locking up. So this is where it's supposed to sit. Can you remove it? So it's locking on these two flat surfaces here and here. And this is locking up the crankshaft, and this is how you're going to be able to install after that, if everything is okay, of course, the locking tool, the timing tool for the balance shafts. And yeah, because this is not OEM tool, I needed to grind it a little bit because it was hitting the cap of the main bearing. So yeah, I needed to remove a little bit of material so to be able to install the both bolts on the both sides, because it was tilting the tool a little bit, but not big of a deal. Okay, so right now the piston number 1 and 4 is on top dead center. Let me show you behind. So the flywheel, the tool is in the flywheel, it's locking up the crankshaft, so this means that we are exactly at top dead center. And if we look on the tool, which should be locking the balance shafts, they are exactly in their places, as we can see on the other side. I'm just showing that because I want to show you that you can do it either way with the tool which we have showed before a minute, or like just locking the crankshaft and install this tool. The only thing which it matters is how you're going to orient the balance shafts when you are doing this, because you can rotate it 180 degrees and still you can lock them like that. So it's really important how you're going to orient them. Right now, once again, we are at top dead center, and as you can see how the balance shaft is oriented. It doesn't matter how you're going to do it, the important thing is that the balance shafts are oriented like that right now. They're pointing downwards. Even if you rotate it 180 degrees, still they're going to point like that, because one revolution of the crankshaft equals exactly 2 revolutions of the balance shafts. That means either you use this tool or either you use the locking tool on the crankshaft, still the balance shafts, if they are locked up to the crankshaft, of course, they're going to point downwards. So once again, 1 revolution crankshaft equals 2 revolutions of the balance shafts. And the other really important thing which I didn't show you is the gears of the balance shafts, how they should be oriented when you are installing them. So there is times when you're going to have real struggle with these balance shafts, like this case on this car. This is the original tool which you should use for removing the balance shafts, which I showed you in the video. On this car, this is not the case. This is the tool which I have already 2 times cut it, so to use the other part of the thread, and still I am not able to remove one of the balance shafts. So you can see how much shorter is from here. And yeah, I managed to break down the thread on the front on this bolt also. So yeah, desperate times required desperate decisions. So this is what we have made up. So to be able to remove the gear out of the balance shaft on the right side, we managed to remove it on the left side easily with the bolt which I showed you, the tool which I'm selling. But here, from all the tension which the bolt done, let me show you what happened to the gear. As you can see, the gear even break down and split it on the front, and still we are not able to remove the gear out of the balance shaft. It's so stuck there. Not sure what's happening, but I have never seen so much stuck gear on a balance shaft. So we have made this bracket on the back which is holding on 3 places, and we're going to try to push the balance shaft with this big bolt. And even then we managed to bend the bolt which is pushing the balance shaft out of the gear. As you can see, the gear is pressed on the cylinder block and we are pushing the balance shaft out of it. But still, even with this big bolt here on the front, we are not able to remove it. We're going to still struggle to see how we're going to manage to remove it. For sure we're going to need a new gear, but when we manage to do it, I'm going to show you how it looks like. The tool did work out. It wasn't so easy as expected. And here it is, the biggest issue. As you can see, the gear completely broke down on the front. The reason that actually came out eventually is because it split in half. Let me see where it was. So hopefully you guys are seeing where the crack is underneath here and goes along the whole gear. So yeah, you cannot see it inside, but yeah, here it's seen a little bit. So this was the reason that this finally let out from the balance shaft. So the thing that I have done, we have put pressure with this bolt here like that. Yeah, with one additional bolt because it needed to be longer. And this was not enough, even with this big bolt. This was not giving us enough pressure, so to remove it, I needed to hit it with the pneumatic gun here, the air gun. And believe me, we needed to hit it for a long period of time until this finally came out and it break loose. And the balance shaft, it flies away so strong that even break down the bearing, this bearing here. So yeah, we're going to need to replace the bearings. So yeah, I don't know what happened, why this was stuck so hard, but believe me, this was not going to come out. Doesn't matter what OEM or aftermarket tool like this you're going to use. From time to time you need to figure out something else. Hopefully you're going to not have this issue like ours. Yeah, just keep in mind, if you're doing this job, things can get ugly. Okay, here are the 3 gears which we're going to use for assembling the balance shafts. We was able to find a new one, second-hand one, which came after 1 hour or
yeah, right about.
So we managed to find a replacement part. As you can see, the left one, the part number ends with 5, and the right one, the part number ends with 6. So the dots, where are they? Here is the dot on the left one, and on the right one it's a little bit smaller. So here is the dot on the other one. As we can see how small it is compared with the other one. And on the bearing wheel, the dot is identical as on the left one. The dot is here. And if we look on this wheel, we're going to see that once again the dot is bigger here on the broke down. Not sure why this dot here is smaller. Probably because this gear comes from N47 D20A, which means this is from the first generation N47, and these gears are from the 3rd generation. Probably that's why they have decided to make the dots a little bit bigger, and on the 8th generation the dot is a little bit smaller. But still, I think it should not cause any issues. The gears are splining pretty good and pretty tight, so it should work out. The part number is the same. Just these are newer production, and this is a little bit older production line. So it should work out. Now I'm going to do markings on the dots so to see it a little bit better, because it's hard to see them even like that. Okay, pretty much this is it. This is all the dots marked, and now it's going to be a little bit easier to install them while they are inside the engine. Okay, so the both balance shafts are installed with the 3 gears of them. So this is the idle gear once again. Here is the passenger side balance shaft, here is the driver side, the left and the right balance shaft. So this is how we have oriented the gears. As we can see once again the white marks which we have made. The important thing is that the gears are vertically oriented to the oil sump, which right now we don't have, of course. This is how we have oriented them. Pretty much this should be somewhere around 90 degrees from the attachment on the crankshaft. Here is a little bit more picky because the orientation of the idle gear is a little bit on a different spot, but I think it's pretty much vertically oriented to the awesome as the up gear on the other balance shaft. Pretty much this is it. Now we're going to tighten up the nut here. We're going to install the both bolts. We have bought new caps on the front of the balance shafts, new bolts. Once again, here is the new bolts for the balance shafts. Yeah, we're going to use the old nut for the idle gear. This is not so important. I don't remember that I talked about the idle gear, but BMW is recommending that you should change your idle gear every time you're doing this. But this idle gear, I believe it was 600 euros, something like that, and I have never heard someone doing this. And yeah, I doubt someone going to do it. The important thing is, when you're tightening up this idle gear, is to press down the gear towards the crankshaft and the other gear of the balance shaft, so to achieve as close as possible to zero wash between all of the gears here. So this is the important thing while you are torquing down the nut on the other side of the idle gear. Some bonus footage and information. Once again, these balance shafts are from N47 generation, and once again the engine which we are working on is the third generation, C generation. It turns out that these valves cannot be installed on the C version of this N47 because the journals where the bearings is installed are with roughly 1.5 millimeters thicker than the C generation, the third generation. So these balance shafts cannot be installed on our engine because these are thicker than the N47C. I believe the C was roughly 29 millimeters, and here we have 30 millimeters. So doesn't matter what I'm doing, I cannot install them in the beds, on the journal beds on the balance shafts. So that's why we're going to use our balance shafts. But the gear, it looks pretty much the same. I think they should be identical, only this is different. So the final thing that needs reassembling about the balance shafts is the new caps. So we have bought brand new OEM caps. They are the same on the both sides. So I'm just going to put some silicone grease. So I'm going to tap them a little bit. This should be alright. And the other one, once again, to oil the O-ring. Okay, like that. So this should prevent from leaking oil with the new caps, hopefully. So this is it about the removal and the installation of the balance shafts.